It seems like a headline for a fictional crime thriller, but it's real. An international internet crime ring first exposed by an Omaha man. Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Erin Sullivan.
And I'm Brian Mastery. In this exclusive First Alert 6 investigation, our Mike McKnight takes us down the trail that law enforcement followed to the East Coast and beyond.
Using 3 fraudulent debit and credit cards at various ATMs in Boston, an alleged ID theft money mule steals from the account of an Omaha man, Tim Pettit.
Yeah, living in Nebraska, I never would have thought that something on my finances would be tied into a criminal ring in the East Coast all the way to Syria.
Alleged identity thieves in Syria obtained Tim's account information and deceived his bank into replacing 3 lost cards that aren't missing.
With the modern financial system being as internet-based as it is, you can victimize somebody in a place in the world that you've never even been to. Our victim didn't do anything to give out their personal information. This was pure identity theft.
But the ID thieves overseas needed an American connection to use the cards in the United States.
So this is our suspect.
The sheriff's fraud detective believes ID thieves in Syria sent the fraudulent bank cards to Russell Hallett near Boston. And that's where the victim's good habit helped him spot what the bad guys had done. Tim says every night before turning in, he checks his financial accounts to see if there's any suspicious activity. And that's how the scheme started to unravel.
And that night I found 2 charges for $20 expedited shipping fee, which I didn't recognize. So first thing to do, call the bank. And they told me that somebody had ordered new cards and shipped them out to Massachusetts.
Tracking transactions on the cards, the fraud detective got video from the ATMs and then stores where the suspect allegedly bought cash cards.
Through some means, he would then transmit the bulk of those funds to the person online who was ordering the cards for him. He indicated that he'd been doing this for the better part of 4 years.
Hallett has been arrested by Massachusetts authorities because a victim in Nebraska reported identity theft to the sheriff's office.
It's quite staggering that here in Douglas County, Nebraska, that you could be the victim of an international crime group from Syria accessing your financial records for this crime. And God only knows what that money is being used for.
Debit and credit cards are part of everyday life. And after international identity thieves obtained replacements, Tim Pettit checks daily so his accounts and emotions aren't drained.
Being able to have this probably a criminal ring shut down not only helps me sleep at night and knowing that this isn't happening, but there's countless other people that are being affected too.
So I really appreciate you doing the right thing and being attentive.
Near 156 in Maple, Mike McKnight, First Alert 6.
The victim estimates the ID thieves got away with about $3,000 before authorities in Omaha and Massachusetts cracked the case. The Douglas County Sheriff's fraud team provided us with advice on how you can avoid these scams and what to do if you become a victim. We'll post those at firstalert6.com.